The universe does not want you to survive. Not for a minute, not for a second, and definitely not forever. There are places out there so hostile that the laws of physics themselves seem to be working against you. And the strangest part? The way most of them kill you isn't the way you'd expect. Stick around because the 7th place on this list will completely change how you think about the word safe. We live inside a bubble of luck. The right distance from the right star, the right atmosphere, the right magnetic shield holding back things we can't even see. Move that bubble by a few thousand kilometers in almost any direction, and everything falls apart. Even the ozone layer, just millimeters thick if compressed to sea level pressure, is the only thing standing between every living cell here and radiation strong enough to unravel DNA itself. Let's start with a place that looks, from far away, like Earth's twin. Venus is almost the same size as our planet, almost the same mass, almost the same distance from the sun on a cosmic scale. Scientists once imagined oceans there. What we found instead was a nightmare hiding behind thick yellow clouds. The surface temperature on Venus sits at nearly 470 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead on contact. But heat alone isn't what makes Venus so lethal. The atmospheric pressure at the surface is about 90 times what we experience on Earth, equivalent to being nearly a kilometer underwater. And above all of that, clouds of concentrated sulfuric acid drift through the upper atmosphere. Every probe humanity has ever sent to the surface lasted at best a couple of hours before it was crushed and melted at the same time. The most successful, a Soviet lander called Venera 13, held out for just 127 minutes. Radar data from NASA's Magellan orbiter mapped the surface in detail during the 1990s, and in 2023, scientists comparing those decades-old images to newer scans confirmed something remarkable. A volcanic vent that had visibly changed shape between observations. Direct evidence that Venus isn't just scarred by an ancient volcanic past. It's still erupting today. Venus doesn't kill you one way. It kills you 3 ways, all at once, and it doesn't particularly matter which one gets there first. Strangely enough, about 50 kilometers above that crushing surface, conditions become almost Earth-like. Some researchers have seriously proposed floating cities there, suspended in the clouds rather than anchored to the ground, since the surface itself will likely never be survivable by any technology we can currently build. It's one of the only places in the solar system where the sky is safer than the ground, and where staying alive means never going down. Now travel further out, past Mars, past the asteroid belt, straight into the radiation field surrounding Jupiter. There's a moon there that shouldn't be able to exist the way it does. Io is the most volcanically active body in the entire solar system, more active than Earth by an enormous margin, caused by a gravitational tug-of-war with Jupiter and 2 neighboring moons that flexes its interior like a stress ball. Hundreds of active volcanoes, some throwing material more than 400 kilometers into space, far beyond where Earth's atmosphere would even begin. One of them, a volcanic depression called Loki Patera, periodically becomes the single most powerful volcanic feature anywhere in the solar system, releasing more heat during its eruptive cycles than every active volcano on Earth combined. But the volcanoes aren't the worst part. Io sits inside Jupiter's radiation belt, one of the most intense radiation environments anywhere near us. An unprotected human on that surface wouldn't die of long-term illness. Multiple organ failure would begin within minutes. Heat from below, lethal radiation from above, and there is no direction you could walk to escape either one. Io isn't even alone in this. Its neighboring moon Europa, considered our best chance of finding alien life in a hidden subsurface ocean, sits inside that same radiation belt. Any future mission drilling through Europa's ice has to account for radiation intense enough to damage electronics within days. Jupiter doesn't just have one deadly moon, it has an entire radiation empire. Leave the solar system entirely now and travel about 640 light years away, to to a planet that shouldn't be able to have weather at all, except it does, and the weather's metal. WASP 776b is tidally locked to its star, meaning one side is frozen in permanent daylight, while the other never sees light at all. One of many so-called hot Jupiters, found orbiting absurdly close to their stars. On the scorched side, temperatures climb past 2,400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize iron itself. Astronomers detected all of this using espresso, a spectrograph mounted on the Very Large Telescope in Chile, sensitive enough to pick up the faint chemical fingerprint of vaporized metal in a planet's atmosphere hundreds of light years away. The planet's winds then carry that vaporized metal toward the dark side, where it cools back down and falls. Not rain, not snow, molten iron falling from the sky, on a planet where the two hemispheres don't even share the same physics of survival. No material we've ever built could withstand contact with that for more than a few seconds, and WASP 76b isn't even the strangest weather system out there. A hot Jupiter called HD 189733b appears to rain glass sideways, driven by winds over 8,000 kilometers per hour, and that's still not the most common way the universe kills things. Here's the one that doesn't need a strange planet at all. It just needs empty space. If a human were exposed to the vacuum of space without protection, they wouldn't explode the way movies suggest. But within about 10 seconds, oxygen deprivation would cause loss of consciousness. Blood and body fluids would begin to boil. Not from heat, but from the total absence of pressure, a process called ebulism. In 1965, a NASA test subject briefly experienced the earliest stage of this in a depressurized chamber and survived only because it was rapidly repressurized within seconds. A far more serious version of this happened for real in 1971, when a valve malfunctioned and depressurized the Soyuz 11 capsule during its return to Earth. The 3 cosmonauts aboard remain to this day the only humans known to have died in the vacuum of space itself. Within roughly 90 seconds, without rescue, there would be no path back. And here's what makes this one different from everything else on this list. It isn't rare. It isn't a strange, exotic world light years away. Vacuum makes up more than 99.9% of the observable universe. Life, the thing we assume is normal, is actually the exception to almost everything that exists. Temperature itself behaves strangely there too. Without air to carry heat away, an object in direct sunlight can reach over 120 degrees Celsius, while a spot in shadow, just centimeters away, can drop below -100. With nothing but a suit standing between both extremes at once. None of this requires a black hole or an exploding star. It's simply the default condition of almost everywhere. Before we go further, if this is the kind of thing that keeps you thinking long after the video ends, hit subscribe now, because what's coming next is going to make even that number feel small. There's an event so violent, so sudden, that its warning and its damage arrive at almost the same moment. A supernova is the explosive death of a massive star, releasing more energy in seconds than our sun will produce across its entire multi-billion-year lifetime. If Earth sat within roughly 25 to 50 light years of one going off, the gamma radiation released would strip away a significant portion of our ozone layer almost instantly, exposing the surface to lethal ultraviolet radiation, collapsing entire food chains, and very likely triggering a mass extinction. And because light and radiation from a supernova travel at nearly the same speed, there would be no early warning. The destruction and the news of it would reach you together. The closest known candidate massive enough to eventually explode, a red supergiant called Betelgeuse, sits around 640 light years away, safely outside that danger zone, though a strange dimming in 2019 briefly had headlines speculating otherwise. And now, the place where even the rules stop making sense. Get close enough to a black hole's event horizon, the point of no return, and gravity becomes so extreme that space and time themselves stop behaving the way we understand them anywhere else in the universe. Objects are stretched into impossibly thin filaments of matter, a process so violent that even a milder version of it, near dense neutron stars, is already catastrophic on its own. But the most unsettling part isn't the force, it's that physicists still cannot say with certainty what actually happens at the center, at the singularity, because the laws of physics, as we currently understand them, simply stop producing meaningful answers there. Some theories suggest the information that falls in is somehow preserved, encoded on the event horizon like a cosmic hologram. Others suggest it's simply erased from existence, a possibility that would break one of the most fundamental assumptions in all of physics. 7 places, 7 completely different ways the universe reminds us that Earth isn't the standard, it's the exception. But here's the part almost nobody talks about, and it's the reason none of this is really about out there at all. Every single one of these 7 places will eventually claim something somewhere at some point in cosmic time, but go far enough into the future, trillions of years from now, long after every star has burned out and every black hole has evaporated, and even the last calm, empty region of deep space, the one place on this entire list that seemed the most stable, stops being safe too. Entropy doesn't skip anywhere. It doesn't matter how far you run, how cold, how empty, or how quiet a place seems. Given enough time, the universe closes every exit. Maybe the real question was never, which of these places would kill you fastest? Maybe it's this. If nowhere in the universe stays safe forever, what does safe even mean right now? On the one planet where you happen to be reading this,